real estate's a capital intensive business in the very beginning. And I think that some people do underestimate you're not going to make a ton of money right away. And same thing with businesses though, like you're not going to get anything in return right away. So to answer your question, how I capitalize is I look at the bigger picture of what am I creating? I do have ownership. So I value how am I making my ownership more valuable in the future and how can I get paid in the future as well? And I kind of delay that gratification of when am I going to capitalize?
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association, providing benefits and services to real estate investors and rental property owners for over 48 years. With your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group.
This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com. Hello and welcome to episode 338. My guest today is a local real estate investor and entrepreneur. Jon Frantz is not only an expert in business finance and development, capital raising, property management and operations, he's also transforming the Alger Heights neighborhood with several businesses, including Top to Bottom Cleaning Group, Urban Jonny's Salon, and the new and exciting Sip Coffee and Cocktails. Jon, welcome to the show.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you're both a real estate investor, entrepreneur, business owner. You seem to have this really wide-ranging background. Tell us how you got to this point.
Kind of depends how far you want me to go back, but I'll start from in 2010. In that time of my life, being 20 years old, I did Cutco Knife sales. So my whole life was evolved around doing sales. And I learned over time that I couldn't make money restarting my day of income every day. So one day I was like, I need to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki. And that was the first book in 2011 that got me into real estate. Bought my first 3-unit property and the craziest time you would think in real estate. But 2012, I bought it for, they wanted $70,000, but it appraised for $55,000 for a 3-unit. It took me 6 months to buy it. I had to sell my car and my lender was like, you know what you're doing? And we got through it. We got through the challenges and I finally had a 3-unit under my belt. And then from there, I just worked my job working at Spectrum Health and just kept saving money and buying properties. But, over time, I started realizing like I can be more creative. I can work with friends. I can work with family. I can work with other private money. Commercial, especially in the last 2 years, not to get ahead of myself, is something I've learned a lot with the commercial side of lending. So yeah, that's kind of the way I got started into it, though.
I can't remember which guest it was, but I've had other guests who have started off as Cutco knife salesmen, and they have become very good salespeople, which I think is an essential skill when you're a real estate investor or entrepreneur. Can you talk about that a little bit, just about your background in sales and how you use that in your day-to-day business?
I will tell any person who has kids to have their kid go through Cutco. It makes you develop a mentality that is not normal from a 9 to 5, and you have to learn to survive in different ways. And so all of those skill sets and everything that I learned from Cutco and the challenges really helped me develop who I was and to come up with these methodologies and how I want to strategize and invest. And I would definitely repeat it again, doing Cutco for sure.
And I also want to ask you about your 3-unit, that first 3-unit that underappraised. It sounds like you had to sell your car to come up with the difference of $20,000. How did that end up turning out?
It turned out all right, obviously, but yeah, I had to sell the car. I had to scramble, put it on Craigslist. Somehow some guy wanted to buy my car. Luckily, my parents at the time had a old beater car I could use for the time being and used that for a long time. But got the property, lived in 1 unit, rented the other 2 out. And as people moved in and out, I do the same thing. So I was pretty hands-on in the beginning. And that's what I learned right away was, okay, I'm not very handy. So maybe I need to hire a property management company. And so in 2014, I decided to leave, Spectrum, and I got a job with Land & Company, which is a property management company. And funny enough, my dad threw the paper at me and said, hey, property management, you got real estate. You should probably get into this. Said, sure. Sent an email, got an interview, got the job, and worked for them for 8 years. And I just ended my career with them last November 30th. And it was a great experience. I did leasing to accounting to property manager to assistant, everything in between. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot that helps your properties and then how to analyze properties in the future, especially with like my focus now of doing more multifamily than these 1 to 4 units.
Land and Company, they own large apartment communities, like 400, 500 unit type communities. What were some of the main takeaways you got from working at Land and Company?
How to build a system. And when I say that is just simply how is there an office? How does the office communicate with the tenants? Maintenance, there's a lot that goes into it. My opinion on property management, it's a very simple concept, but it requires a lot of time and attention. And that's the main thing for me was I learned, okay, I can take these systems and I can kind of replicate them very simply with any investment.
Great company to work for and kind of cut your teeth with when it comes to property management. So are you managing your own properties now?
Nope, not anymore. So around 2014, 15 is about when I stopped and I hired United Property Management to take over because at the time I was working a day job and needed some help there. So I've still have them today and they manage my properties. I got 4 houses left. And from 2012 to 17, I do regret selling some of those properties, but you live and learn. And sometimes you need to capitalize on some. But yeah, it's been fun.
I want to kind of turn to your entrepreneurial endeavors because you've started some businesses in a particular neighborhood that kind of helped to transform that neighborhood. I mean, it was always a great neighborhood, but when you bring 3 businesses into a neighborhood, you're going to change it. Talk about that. What is the neighborhood? What are the businesses? How did you become this entrepreneur alongside being a real estate investor?
Alger Heights is an awesome little area. It's like almost a forgotten spot, I feel like. But my business partner, Jonathan Farman, him and I met in 2016, and we had a startup we were working on named Styler. Long story short, that startup didn't work out. And Jonathan one day said, hey, I'm looking to open a salon. We talked, we figured out our financing. We opened up the salon in 2018. So that was our first foothold of Alger Heights. And over the last 3-4 years, Jonathan's on the Alger Heights Business Association. He's on the SID Southtown board for the city. And, we really like the presence of the community because, without them, there's not us. And that's what we wanted to offer was a community feeling for that area. So we do have Urban Johnny's over there. We're expanding that space right now as we speak. And then Sip Coffee and Cocktails, they'll be opening hopefully July.
Let's kind of take it one by one. The Urban Johnny's Salon. Hairstyling, hair cutting type salon?
Yeah. And I always joke around. I always tell people when I met Jonathan, I told him right away, I'm like, I don't know anything about hair except I need a haircut every 30 days. He goes, that's why I'm here with you. So, that's what I've learned is to have good partners that you obviously can trust, but are knowledgeable and they have their own expertise. And so that's what we did is I took the back end, which are the finance and the legal end, the boring stuff, I call it. And Jonathan took the front end. He was more of an owner operator for the first couple years. And after those couple years, I kind of taught him if we want to expand and grow, let's promote one of our stylists to be the manager. So there's a lot of stuff we learned over time.
When you say you took over the finance and the legal aspect, what exactly did that involve?
Anywhere from dealing with the lenders, the paperwork, operating agreements, everything in between. I do all that, the accounting, the bookkeeping as well.
What is the financial model there? Like, how does Urban Johnny's Salon make money for you and your partner?
So we started our model out as a commission structure. So they had a minimum wage, but they also, or if it's higher, they would get commission. And what we learned over time was for both of us, it'd be a benefit if we did a chair rental, which obviously a lot of people have heard of a chair rental for a salon. And our girls were like, we want to do the chair rental. And we sat down with them. We talked about it. We're like, you know what? This would be a win-win situation. And so now we've converted our stylist over and it's a chair rental. So now we treat it kind of like a a rental property in a way where each chair is a unit.
Sounds like you had a paradigm shift from you had employees who were cutting hair to now you have independent contractors who are just renting a chair from you.
And what we wanted to avoid was losing the culture of that environment, just because we've created an Urban Johnny's name in Alger Heights so much and people know about it. But we didn't want to lose that quality becoming a chair rental, because the girls each other will be their own business in a sense.
So John, then it sounds like you're adding more chairs then that you'll be renting out?
Yep. So currently we have 6 and we'll go to 13. So our hope is actually to have 6 total full chairs by the end of construction. And then at the end of the year, about 8 to 10. And
are you going to do this again? Is this a repeatable model that you plan on adding more salons?
Potentially. We did talk about that maybe in like 3 to 4 years to see how this one goes. We love the area though. That's the thing. And just finding that next location would just be the next challenge, but we love challenges.
So you did Urban Johnny's Salon, and then you also opened a cleaning business. Talk about that.
So that one I became a partner on, actually. So it was already operating and existing. I actually met the owner when I worked at Landing Company when I was a property manager, and he cleaned the hallways, the apartments, and we would always chat once in a while when he'd stop at my office. And one day he said, "Look, I'm having a hard time here. I need some help." And it was him and his wife that were the owner operators. And I said, "Well, let's chat, see what's going on." After a couple meetings, we said, let's do this, where I'd come in and do some sweat equity, put systems in place. And I brought on one of my friends, John Lewandowski, to bring some capital in as well. And we revamped their operating systems to how scheduling works with their staffing. And then from there, that was the end of 2019, I became a partner of Top to Bottom Cleaning Group. And from there, we grew 2020, triple sales. And then last year, just a little bit below that. But actually today, we're about to buy out our partners, the original. They've had a good time with this type of business, but they're looking to do other business ventures. So it's been quite a ride.
When you look at a business like this cleaning business, what are you bringing to the table? Because it sounds like you're able to kind of take a top to bottom look at it and go in and make tweaks or adjustments or bring new systems. What is it about you that allows you to be able to do that?
The word that keeps always coming to my mind in the last couple of years here is just systems, and being able to duplicate those so that way we can have further growth. So when I come in place, like I mentioned before, I do the bookkeeping, the accounting, the boring stuff. And then, me and my partner, John Lewandowski, we implemented, time T-sheets, ADP, different things that can make it more streamlined. So we're not trying to chase our tail, which is unfortunately what they did in the beginning. And they were just learning. The original owners didn't know exactly what certain things should have been done. And so I'm more focused on being very compliant with, let's say, HR rules to IRS rules to accounting. That's my forte.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com.
If you're thinking of leaving your W-2 job and becoming a full-time real estate investor, one of the greatest costs you must consider is healthcare for you and your family. When I made this transition myself, I found the whole healthcare insurance process to be confusing and frustrating. That's why I'm glad I met Chad Creasy at RCB and Associates. Chad is a professional health insurance agent who helps real estate investors and small business owners understand and choose their best healthcare options. And best of all, his services are covered by the insurance company and won't cost you a dime. If you live in Michigan and are expecting a change in your healthcare insurance coverage for any reason, or losing employer coverage or transitioning into Medicare, then you owe it to yourself to contact Chad Creasy at rcbassociatesllc.com. When you look at these startup businesses, what are some of the mistakes that you see over and over again that these new business owners are making?
They mix their money with their personal money every time. Yeah, that makes it tough. You know, when you mix personal with business, it's hard to keep track and you don't have a good record of it. And then you don't know how you're performing. So that was a big key is getting, you know, and I'm working with a couple other ventures right now in that same type of scenario where they're kind of commingling a little bit. But I don't think people do that intentionally. I think it's, you know, an honest mistake. And, you know, when I started with rental properties, I kind of did the same thing and learned very quickly. Got to keep it separate.
Let's talk about SIP Coffee and Cocktails. This is a new business. Tell us what it is. This episode might come out after it's open or might come out before it's open. I'm not sure, but tell us what it is, how it came about, and what your part is in it.
We've been saying since last year we're going to open November, December, and then it went from January to February to March, and now we're here in July. But that's just part of the journey, right? So last year, early 2021, we were like, hey, we have the opportunity to buy the building where the salon is, because the salon is in the same building as SIP. And we're at the corner of Eastern and Alger right there. So we're like, let's put something different in there. There's no coffee shop. My business partner, Jonathan Farman, doesn't drink. So he's always wanted a coffee shop in that area because there's not one within 15 minutes, interestingly, because you're not that far away from 28th Street. And then it kind of evolved of, well, what about doing alcohol? Well, I don't drink, but I enjoy people that do. And so we also want to offer like some mocktails specialty for mocktails and cocktails. And then my part coming into this is I'm doing the same thing. So me and Jonathan are the forefront of this whole project of getting the people together, getting all the paperwork in place, getting the vendors, everything you can think about for a startup. So, and we forgot about that. Me and Jonathan, when we did the salon, we were like the other day, startups take a lot of time and energy. And we forget that sometimes, but that's the fun part of the journey. And so, you know, we've gone through the liquor license process with the city, and I appreciate Grand Rapids. They approved our license. So we're going through the state, and we've had many hurdles with construction, many hurdles with the liquor license, you know, many more to come, but that's actually the enjoyment I get out of it.
You said you forgot how much work and time and effort go into a startup company. What does take up all that work, time, and effort when you're starting up a business?
Managing all the things that need to be done in a timely manner to make sure you open on the time that you say. And as simple as that sounds is you have so many moving parts. For example, trying to figure out your financing with your liquor license to make sure you have your liquor license hopefully by the time you open, and making sure you can order equipment at certain times as well. So, you know, you're moving a lot of parts and there's a lot of variables. And you know, I'm working on a couple existing businesses right now that I'm learning very quickly that those are much simpler because they already exist. But new startups, they are very fun. They're definitely not for the normal person, if you want to call them. But it's like how Elon Musk says, it's like chewing glass and staring into the abyss sometimes. But I enjoy it, like I said.
How do you capitalize yourself during that period? If it's a startup, I imagine you need some startup capital. You're not really going to achieve revenue for 6 months, a year, sometimes longer. So how do you tend to work that out along the way?
You know, those are always a challenging time. That's for sure. But, you know, we'll always start with some capital raising. Like for SIP, we did raise money in the very beginning, knowing that we'll probably have to raise more. So we were kind of conservative on that so we could get through the soft costs, like an architect, engineers, and all that fun stuff in the beginning. But yeah, so that's what we did with SIP. But for the salon was a little different. I put my own money in. You know, Jonathan, like I said, was more of an operating partner. And we got denied by so many banks with the salon, not to change businesses, but that taught me a lot about how the banking world worked. And so we got a loan through GROW, the Grand Rapids Organization for Women, who are awesome, by the way, to work with. And then for SIP, we're working with Northern Initiative, and they're a nonprofit as well. And they've been very instrumental. So just because it's very difficult to get any financing for a startup with any bank institution.
You've brought Urban Jonny Salon, your cleaning business. Those are revenue producing now, and you're getting a return on your investment. How would you compare that return on investment from the businesses to the return on investment you get from your real estate?
I haven't really compared the two, but I would definitely say as far as real estate goes, I always use the word CLAW, CLAW, cash flow, leverage, appreciation, and write-offs. And so I've always loved real estate, and that's why I'm kind of getting back into the game now. And I see it in a way of, the cash flow. Real estate's a capital intensive business in the very beginning. And I think some people do underestimate. You're not going to make a ton of money right away. And same thing with businesses though. Like you're not going to get anything in return right away. So to answer your question, how I capitalize is I look at the bigger picture of what am I creating? I do have ownership. So I value how am I making my ownership more valuable in the future, and how can I get paid in the future as well? And I kind of delay that gratification of when am I going to capitalize?
I want to talk about your partnership too, because it sounds like finding rockstar partners is a key to your success. And you mentioned Jonathan. Is he involved in all three of the businesses we've talked about?
So Jonathan Farman, he's involved with the Alger Heights projects of the Salon and Sip Coffee and Cocktails, and then the building that we own. John Lewandowski, though, he's just a partner with me on the cleaning company in Grand Rapids here. Yep.
So what are you looking for in your partnerships? Do they all have to be named John or Jonathan? Or what are you looking for?
No, when I meet people, I've been doing so much networking lately. I noticed you had Brad Simtab on here, amazing kid. I'm going to be golfing with him today, but networking, meeting people, and it's never an exact science, but obviously I'm looking for somebody I can trust. If I had to pick performance over trust, I'd pick trust over performance any day. And just because I know people you can mold them in the right direction. So yeah, trust is a big thing. And then from there, like moldability, how do they think? Do they think like an entrepreneur and an owner operator, or do they think like, I'm very comfortable with a 9-to-5 job? And I respect people that do that, because that's what we need in this society with, owning businesses. We need people that work. So yeah, partnerships got to make sure before you sign the paperwork, you're about to marry them.
And what do you bring to those partnerships, John?
Me and Jonathan, when we first had our partnership, he is more of the creative side and I'm more of that financial piece. And in the very beginning, we butted heads quite a bit just because we're trying to understand our personalities. So, it's a learning thing that you learn over time of each other. And now we have an amazing relationship together, and we want to do more business as well. And that's what I look for, is just how can we work together to be a win-win situation and make everything very simple for even staff. That's a big thing too, is our staff.
Once Sip Coffee and Cocktails is open, and I'm sure that's taking up some of your time now, what's next for you? Are you going to keep doing both real estate and businesses? Is there a direction you see yourself heading as you grow in your business?
I always go off the 5 words of enjoy the passage of time. When people ask me, like, what do you want to do with your life? And so that's why I've been doing so many different projects. When I started early in 2012, just working at the warehouse at Spectrum, I didn't know what I was going to do. So as I've grown over the years, I've realized, I enjoy this. This is my purpose and my passion, because those two are very different. Like accounting is not my passion, it's my purpose. But building businesses and seeing them succeed and making an impact in the community, that's my passion.
John, what about real estate then? I mean, are you still doing like the smaller multifamily, or are you looking to expand into the larger multifamily?
So from after I do SIP, I would love to continue real estate. So I work at JA Companies, which is a small real estate firm that I started last December. And they are looking for 1 to 4 units all the way up to, they have a 60 unit under contract right now in Ohio. So I definitely have been focused a lot more on real estate lately. And once we get SIP stabilized, that's what I want to focus on, is real estate, but then also more businesses as well.
What advice do you have for our listeners as we wrap it up here? Those who might be starting out in real estate investing, or those who are looking to start a business, what would you say to them? 2
things. Build a good team. You always need good people on your team. Good legal advice, good accountant, good partners, have a good team. The other part is just be consistent and take action. It's not going to be a perfect ride or journey. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. And that's the part you want to enjoy, is all the mistakes you make, because in the future, you will definitely enjoy all the things that you made mistakes on. So those are my 2 things.
How would people find out more about you or get a hold of you?
So you can find me or reach out at Frantz, rconstellations.com. And that's my holding company for my businesses. And then there's also jacompanies.com. And that's the company I work for. We do, like I mentioned, real estate. We do build outs, construction, property management. And we're looking for more opportunities in the area.
Jon, I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about your business. Good luck getting SIP Coffee and Cocktails open. I look forward to, shortly after this episode goes live, coming out there and having a coffee or a mocktail at your new place. Thank you very much for having this conversation with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's higinvestor.com. And you can also ask questions and join us on Facebook by going to RPOA, Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.